Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of r/Entitled People. In today's episode, evil stepmother wants my baby. Server calls out Karen for cutting the wait line at diner and sends her back to the end of the line. An unsatisfied request. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe so you will never miss a video. So let's get started. Evil stepmother wants my baby. Okay, so for some background, I'm F29, English, and I live in Italy with my fiancé M37 Marco, Italian, and our daughter 5 months old, Willow. I moved to Italy after graduating medical school, where I met Marco, and now I'm a resident in one of the hospitals. My father is a crap dad, left my mum and me and has been very inconsistent. He married Tammy when I was young and she has never liked me, and she was also never able to have kids. So when I gave birth, my mom's side of the family came over to visit and meet Willow and look after both of us. Nothing from my dad or Tammy. So 2 weeks ago they turn up unannounced, claiming to be in the area on holiday and wanted to meet Willow. She was getting a bit fussy and she combination fed, but as I was home I grabbed a cover and let her latch onto me. Tammy says the breastfeeding will have to stop soon. I'm confused and ask her why, and she said it couldn't be kept up when Willow was with them. Now I'm even more confused and I ask what is she on about. She shows me photos of a baby room and says that we should split custody of Willow and not to worry, and she has everything set up already. I just stare at her, but she carries on, claiming that the age gap between myself and Marco is unhealthy for a child to grow up with, saying it was obvious I needed help and she was happy to, and mostly that I was obviously more bothered about working than staying home with my baby, so I should just let her have Willow. But obviously she wasn't able to breastfeed, so we would have to stop that now. I tell her she can't be serious and think I'm giving her my baby, and she tells me to calm down. She's not asking for full custody, but she could provide a much calmer and stabler home and that I could always visit. She said it's what she deserves. Marco pushed everyone out and made sure Willow and I were alright. Since then I've been really weirded out and been getting texts from my father saying I need to let Tammy prove herself as a good caregiver, and Tammy has been sending loads of photos of the nursery she has made. Just to add so people don't get confused, I'm in Italy but Tammy isn't. They had flown over here. Edit to answer some common questions. My dad isn't actually on my birth certificate, so I think that limits his grandparents' rights claim. My mom is our nominated guardian for Willow. If anything happens to us, it's written in a will, and Willow goes to the daycare in the hospital we both work at. Seriously? That's a crazy you need to get as far away from as possible. She hasn't done anything to warrant a protection order, but get prepared for more. Security camera upgrades. Preemptive calls to police and CPS or equivalent. Block and go no contact until she's had some serious therapy. She might also want to contact all of the doctor and daycare people to make sure that this nutjob can't get any info about Willow. I could definitely see Tammy making phone calls pretending to be OP. That is frightening. More so that your father, seems like pond scum, is encouraging this. If they're so hot to trot with getting a child, then let them get on the adoption list. Kidnapping your baby is going to end with them in jail. Right? It seems like the plot of a horror movie. Good for Marco for getting them out. You need to cut off contact, but screenshot those demanding texts from your father first. Never let this woman have access to your child without you being there. She is delusional and scary. Server calls out Karen for cutting the wait line at diner and sends her back to the end of the line. We went to our local breakfast place on Sunday, and as usual, there was a queue for tables. This place is super low-key/homey and is seat yourself, but during busy times, you wait until a server says a table is ready and points to the table available. Yesterday, we wait our turn, get a table, and sit down. While looking at menus, the table next to us vacates, and a minute later we hear you can't do that. You have to wait in line like everyone else. We look up to see this Karen in hoodie and sunglasses seated alone at the table, intently ignoring the server while scrolling on her phone, as if she couldn't hear them at all. The other server, with the next queue family in tow, comes up and says you're here all the time, you know better. You need to get in the line and wait your turn. This is not your table. Now everyone is staring, and Karen gets up, still glued to her phone, and saunters back to the queue, while the servers reassure the family that this is their table and she's here all the time. She knows better. By the time Karen got to the front of the queue again, she was also joined by her party, and we were just finishing up. We may have lingered an extra minute or two to finish our coffee, while adding an extra $20 to the tip, with a note to our server that said Sunday brunch combat pay. I was serving at the bakery last week, absolutely flat out, 30 people at least in line. This older woman barges up to the counter. I just want 2 rolls. I indicated the line was long and she needed to join the queue. She wasn't having that. Insisted, but I don't want anything else but 2 rolls. Again I said please join the queue. She yells, "Are you going to give them to me?" I said no. She couldn't believe it and huffed off. These little wins over arseholes are refreshing every now and then. I love that combat pay note. Well done for them calling it out, but it would have been much better if they banned her. Why do people behave badly at places they frequent, especially small businesses? Many of the ones I've been to will eventually ban people for being problems. Had a guy do that at a restaurant where I worked. Jumped in front of the line, into a dirty table. He refused to leave the table, so I told the server not to serve him for 30 minutes, his actual wait time. He was pissed. But so were we and everyone else ahead of him in line. I had ordered a basic latte at a very busy shop with lines. When my name was called, this woman rushed up and grabbed the coffee. Just as I was about to say something, the barista said, "Sure, let her." Once she'd moved off, he said, "Let her take it, she'll absolutely hate it." Turns out she was a regular that was always rude and super picky about her overly sweet drinks. Was happy to wait a few more minutes while mine was remade to make the barista's day. I did this once by accident at a sushi restaurant. Most are first come first serve at the sushi bar. I saw an open spot and went to sit down. The hostess quickly came over to tell me there is a queue. Unlike this woman, I profusely apologized and waited my turn. An unsatisfied request. A Karen of the first order was boarding a DC-10 at JFK for a lovely 5-hour journey to LAX. Blonde, short, bobbed haircut, sensible shoes, garish jewelry. She asked the flight attendant at the entry door, "Who is our captain today?" And the flight attendant replied, "Ma'am, our pilot today is Captain John Snarfleberry." The woman thanked the flight attendant, entered coach, and dropped her rather large carry-on bag on an empty seat. From it she withdrew a bullhorn, brought it to her lips and shrieked, "Attention! May I have your attention, please? Attention!" After a moment's pause, she announced, "Ladies and gentlemen, before we depart today, Captain Snarfleberry will lead us in a prayer for the safety of this flight." Seconds later, of course, the cockpit intercom dings, and I pick up. The lead FA informs me of what has just happened. I am somewhere between appalled and enraged. This is a zero-win situation for me, because no matter what I do, I'm going to offend someone. So, I should point out that at that time I considered myself to be an agnostic, though I had read the Bible and assorted theological material quite extensively. And suddenly, a light bulb, figuratively speaking, illuminated above my head. I picked up the hand mic, selected PA, and announced, "Ladies and gentlemen, this is Captain Snarfleberry." Pause for dramatic effect. While I commend the lady's sentiment, to do as she requested would violate my religious beliefs. I can only commend to you the words of Matthew, chapter 6, verse 5, wherein he said, "And when thou prayest, thou shalt not be as the hypocrites are, for they love to pray standing in the synagogues and in the corners of the streets, that they may be seen of men. Verily I say unto you, they have their reward." And how, you may be asking yourself, did this lout, and an agnostic at best, happen to have that particular verse memorized? I happen to have been blessed with a brother-in-law of profound and somewhat peculiar religious faith, who believed that public prayer was a public service. And he would pray anywhere, anytime, for any reason, floridly, loudly, and with great drama. And so I memorized this verse to quote to him in restaurants, public venues, and social gatherings. He was an annoying twit, but who knew that his peculiar habit would arm me with a suitable response to a situation that would occur many years in his future? When did this happen? 30 years ago? Yeah, about 30 years. 1993 or 1994. A retired pilot? You, dear sir, need your own subreddit. I guess security never asked her why she's traveling with a bullhorn in her carry-on. Interesting. If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share, and we will see you in the next video.